People always ask me, why don't you hang out in comedy clubs after the show? Why don't you hang out? Okay, you always run off home, all right? And part of the answer is that in every crowd, there's somebody who can't stand the comedian. Every crowd, there's just somebody for no discernible reason. They just can't stand you. They don't like you. And I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. I don't need the feedback in my life. This job's hard enough. I like to just create the joy, have the illusion everybody likes it, and that everybody laughed, and not hear from the haters. You can email me and I can delete it. I don't need to have it live. Okay, so perfect example of this. I was doing a show that was part of a theater festival. Okay, so I'm in the venue. Never been there before. They've got circular tables set up in this venue. One is right up at the front of the stage, and the place is packed. And I see the guy at the table. There's a group of people at this table, but the guy who's closest to the stage that has turned his chair away from the stage, and he's facing everybody and he's talking to him. So I'm thinking, let me make a mental note of this. Hopefully this guy turns around when the show starts. I'm sure he will. There's no reason to pay for comedy and then not see it. Every once in a while, though, there's one of those. So they make an announcement. The show starts. I don't have a warm-up act. I don't have a, MC or feature. I have to go on cold and do an hour, okay? Which, another reason why I made the note, because I'm like, any little distraction gets magnified in that kind of scenario. You don't have a guy going before you to kind of chop down the weeds with the machete. You're doing it. So you're doing your own warm-up. So I'm up there, and this guy's got his back to me. And the whole room can see it, so it's very distracting. So, after I make a couple jokes, I mention something. I take a little shot at him. I'm like, hey, you couldn't go have that conversation at a diner. You got to do it, when everybody's paid for tickets. You don't want to turn around and watch the show or whatever. And the guy, people are kind of laughing at the table or whatever. The guy doesn't turn around. He kind of pivots slightly, looks at me, up and down, like with this look of disgust, and just shakes his head and turns back around to whatever he was doing at the table. So now I'm like, okay, this dude just threw down the gauntlet. Okay, you're not going to turn around? So I just start ripping into this guy a little bit more. I'd crank it up a little bit. People at the table laughing, whole room is laughing. This guy, nothing, not a peep, right? Turns around every once in a while. Every time I get a laugh, he'll turn around, look at me, up and down with disgust, shake his head, turn back to the table. Right? So now it's gotten to the point where I have to talk about this guy. It's like I fell into a catch-22 type trap that, he's become the focal point of the show. Everybody's aware of it. You can't ignore. If I try to do material, people are like, talk about the guy, and I have to, the material's not working. I got to go back to this guy. So now I'm annoyed with that, and I'm a little mad with myself that I'm kind of an enabler of that I've enabled this guy to kind of usurp the show in a way to make it about him. So now I'm laying into his ass, and I'm just, I'm throwing some body punches on him. I mean, I'm laying into his ass, boom, 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 and people are laughing. Like it's killing. It's killing, right? The people, his wife has got tears in her eyes. She's just cracking up. This dude's, other people at the table, just doubled over. The whole place is going nuts. This guy just nothing, looking at me, shaking his head in disgust, turning around, whatever, mumbling some shit to them. I end up doing this for an hour. Okay, I can't do it. I'm hitting this guy for an hour. I'm like, this motherfucker's gonna need therapy after this night's over, right? And I get a standing ovation, which it doesn't happen that much. I get them once in a while. I'm not gonna lie. It happens once in a while. They're nice. I enjoy them. Everybody stands. Not this guy. Doesn't even turn around. I just see the back of his head shaking his head, he looking at the people like they're idiots for standing up. Like, you're standing up for this guy? That's what he's doing. He's looking around the room. So now I'm contractually obligated to stand by the door when people leave at this venue. Okay, they had it in the contract, which is something I don't like doing anyway, but I got to do it, because and this is it's theater. It's a theater festival, so the rules for the theater that may not apply to traditional comedy venue. So I'm standing by the door, and people are coming up. They're like, "What the fuck was with that guy? You were hilarious. oh my God, that was so funny. I could not believe that guy hated you. I'm like, I know. Everything you said, he was like, you did this shit, they hate. So one after another, people come up. I'm like, I know. And now I see his table get up, and they're kind of the last ones out, and they're coming my way. I'm like, no. And the wife's coming up, and I see her. She still has tears on her face. She is wiping the tears out of her eyes from laughing. His friends are still laughing. This guy, nothing, right? She comes over. She said, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I said, well, great. I go, I'm glad you enjoyed it because your husband there, he sure didn't. She's like, no, he loved it. I'm like, he loved it? She's like, yeah, he thought you were hilarious. I'm like, he thought I was hilarious? I'm like, that guy didn't laugh all night. That guy sat there, he put his back towards me. He didn't even turn around and see anything. What do you have, a mirror at the table? He was watching it like one of those jail mirrors, like a shard of glass or something. You stick out of the cell bars or whatever. I'm like, what? How did that guy? And she's like, no. He thought you were so funny. I'm like, it's so funny. All he did is shake his head like I suck. She's like, no, he has Parkinson's. He loves you. The guy came up and he looked at me, he goes, you were hilarious, right? And they just walked off. And that is why I don't hang out at comedy clubs after the show.